Too sweet. Hi, welcome to JD Sports. I'm Jared Hood. That's the way you can follow personal Twitters at the show's Twitter page, which is @_JD Sports. Thank you for watching on YouTube. If you would like to listen to us on SoundCloud, how do they do that, Dwight?
Hit soundcloud.com/JD Sports Show.
So, JD Sports Show. That would be about sports.
It's factual.
The last couple of weeks we talked about the same thing over and over. Mainly it's been the NBA playoffs, which was just the build-up for the NBA Finals, which was going to be Cleveland versus Golden State, right? We kind of felt like we knew that almost going back to July 4th last year. Now, this would be the third. This would be the rubber match. They were 1-1. This time, Kevin Durant would be part of it. Now, how's your weekend, Dwight?
I had a great freaking weekend, dude. You don't even understand.
Would you rock out Saturday? Oh, you know what? We were together all weekend. I didn't even put this together. Holy crap, before the show. Saturday, we had a great time.
I wasn't even talking about that. I was more so thinking about the L. But,
okay. Well, Friday the game was on. Did you do anything Friday for the game? We didn't hang out.
I was just chilling.
All right, so Saturday, I had to work during the day, but got off Saturday. Got the phone call from co-host here talking about something about some turnips. So shout out to the homies, mainly Tony.
Oh, yeah. That's a good time.
Always good seeing him. That was Saturday.
Sunday was a good day.
No, Monday was a good day. Sunday, I didn't see you Sunday. I saw you Monday.
I guess Sunday.
It's all blending in for us two right here.
Yeah, it is Tuesday.
I don't know. I work, I don't work, I work, I don't work. It's all the same to me. Anyway, so come over Monday to hang out, right? Raw was on, but you weren't watching that when I got there.
I sure wasn't watching that.
The game was on.
I wasn't watching that, Andrew.
3-1.
The L was on.
So I texted you before I came over for the game, right? For all those people, I always ask Dwight how his weekend is, and usually we have some crazy epic story or not a crazy epic story. But we were building this up because the point is we knew going into Monday, Golden State was going to have it wrapped up. After all this excitement for the actual playoffs, 4 games in, we knew what the outcome was going to be, even though it wasn't over yet.
Yep. It's factual.
I texted you, I said, what time do I come over for the Golden State victory party? Because we kind of knew that was coming. Now, you laughed at me in the beginning of the series when I said about how I thought there was a potential for them to be swept. I thought that this team could actually sweep them.
Yeah.
I'm glad they didn't get swept. I mean, as obviously a LeBron fan, I hear enough of it as it is. That would be 10 times worse. But
I'll say it would have been much better for me.
A lot of greats have gotten swept. We can go through the list of names if you want to, but the point is like, you know, better that he didn't, I guess. Could you imagine if they won Game 3 instead of losing that on the closing shot? How different? Well, you go back to Cleveland after Game 5, it would be 3-2 Golden State, and. Obviously, if they win Game 3, it's a completely different series. But if they win Game 3, they might not shoot the way they did in Game 4. And that's the problem with us being a weekly show, is that we kind of gloss over the incredible game that the one win that Cleveland had. It was the most impressive in NBA Finals history offensively. But at the same time, it comes in a series where they didn't seem like they had any chance. So it's like one of those, they literally had to pull out the best game in NBA Finals history offensively to pull out the one win. Do you put that win on Friday, because we're going to get into the series clincher and then moving on to players and teams and whatnot, but do you put that win on Friday in the realm of Iverson and the Sixers beating the 0-1 Lakers?
No, I'm not going to remember that game even happened in 2 weeks, dude.
Okay. And I understand that the Iverson beating the Lakers one has a momentous moment that will live on forever. And look,
there was one.
As an Iverson fan and as a Lakers fan, I'm the first one to say that most memorable moment from that finals that the Sixers lost. Do you know what I mean? So
the Cavs still had a much better roster than that Sixers team had. So I'm not.
I agree with that, but are they going up a more juggernaut? Are they going up? Because, look, that 0-1 Sixers team, I'm not going to sit here and even front to begin like I think they win a game against this year's Golden State team, as much as I have faith in my boy Iverson, and I hope they could. I just don't see Tyrone Hill, Matt Geiger, Rajah Bell,
No.
Eric Snow,
No.
Aaron McKee, as much as I love Eric Snow and Aaron McKee, pulling out a game outside of, Iverson going on for like 55, which is unrealistic to think of. So my point is like, I got you. I agree. This Cleveland team is much better than that Sixers team, but they're going up a bigger juggernaut, or at least the same size of juggernaut that Sixers team had to go against. So
I don't think history is going to look at this at all, other than the fact that Golden State got their W at the start of something, maybe something that's going to go on for the next couple of years.
So that was Game 4. Fast forward to Game 5 quickly, because I know that's more what you want to talk about. The superstars showed up. I mean, KD had 39. LeBron had 40+. I'm pretty sure Curry had like 37. Clay got into double figures. Draymond got into double figures. Iguodala got into double figures. I'm pretty sure Kyrie got into double figures. If I'm not mistaken, even Love got in double figures. I mean, this was it was 129 to 120. It was a high-scoring game, and I kept saying how the only shot I gave them to win a game or a couple games in the series, and maybe a shot at the series, was that they can score in the 120s every game. The difference was I said that I thought Golden State could score in the 150s. It did seem like we could name all these players in double figures. It did seem like Cleveland was... They make one mistake, and it was enough for them to falter for an entire game, where Golden State can make 5, 6, 7 mistakes, and they were still okay because of who they had, obviously.
Right.
KD's the MVP. We all agree on that, obviously.
Yeah. I won't argue it.
Do you think somebody deserved it more?
No, not necessarily.
Do you think somebody deserved it as much?
You would probably make the Steph argument, but
yeah.
No, I would still pick KD in that situation, but
So would I.
I think it's kind of funny that people are just ignoring what Steph was still out there doing too. Like, he was right there with him, if not putting more points. He was right there, like, 4 points off maybe a game in here and there. And
no, he was okay.
And he was getting. My man was out here getting 10 rebounds. Like, how? Like,
I know you hate me for knowing the stats, but the
doesn't
stats.
Make any sense.
It was 35 points for KD, and I think it was 26. I think for Curry, and that's why the difference came, because Curry had as many rebounds a game, at 8, which is crazy.
Doesn't make any sense. That's horrible. That's horrible on both teams' front.
Curry had, I agree, and Curry had 9 assists per game, where KD only had 5 assists per game. Not saying only. I mean, that's look.
Right.
What is it? 35, 8, and 5 from KD is why he got the MVP. But a 26, 8, and 9 from Curry, which I brought it up before, and I know I brought it before the finals, and I know you had no time for it, because you looked at it as KD was unanimous. Or I mean, not KD. Curry was unanimous MVP. It didn't matter how he played in the last 2 finals, whether he was injured or not. The last finals, he already was who he was. You didn't need him to have a great finals, or you didn't need him to have this amazing production that he had, where he almost, I mean, he was 2 rebounds away a game and a assist away from a game from averaging a triple-double, which LeBron did, but LeBron's the first player in NBA history to do that. So, like, to be that...
Take an L.
But, right, I agree. But to be... my point to Curry is to be that close to a triple-double, and to be that close to being only, one of 2 players to ever do that type thing, that's incredible. And if KD didn't outscore him by 9 and rebound the same amount as him, then obviously I think Curry probably is the MVP, but I think they are as much... KD's the best player, Curry's might be the most valuable player, even though I still think Draymond's the guy that turns the wheel. But when you're looking at running through... The offense runs through Curry, so that's why you can look at it in that direction, I guess.
Yeah.
Do you think... Because I know you're one of the people that... dogged KD all year long, and I was one of the people that defended KD all year long. All I saw the day after the finals was, well, he cemented his legacy, and which, you and I don't do the whole legacy thing the day after. You don't need to analyze every game as a legacy game, but, he is, he came to do what he proved he was going to do, and, yeah, blah, 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 right? All the narrative had changed on Kevin Durant the second he won that finals, which before it was he was weak and he made it uncompetitive, and he was this and he was soft and he couldn't do it with a worse roster, and he went and can't beat him, join him, and blah, 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 and now it's, you proved you were the best player even with that team that you joined, and and he's the best player. Now I get it. It was, as you keep pointing out, it was just the false Paul Pierce saying that
he is false on this statement.
He thinks Kevin Durant is the best player in the world, but
he is literally the only one saying that.
And it's just because he doesn't like LeBron. That's okay. Not everyone has to like LeBron.
I don't like LeBron.
I understand. Skip doesn't like LeBron either. It's okay. But, and you know me, I was on the side of, I didn't take it he went just from Oklahoma City to Golden State. I looked at it from, he was a struggling kid from the inner city of D.C. to he went to Texas for a year to he struggled year in and year out trying to make it to the championship or got to the championship and lost, and he felt like he was the best player on his team but having to take a back seat just due to the nature of the other player that was as good as him or almost as good as him in the situation he was in. So I was okay with him doing what he did, and I thought it was okay that he chased the ring. And the day after, it seemed like there was more people turning to my side than it was the other side, when it seemed like last time we did this, it was more people on the other side than on my side. So I know you're not going to falter to the other side of it, but do you?
No, I'm not.
And I know that.
Stupid. That's ridiculous.
Do you see him in any kind of different light after these finals, after this year, after not just okay going and doing that and winning a championship, but doing that, winning a championship, and then being head and shoulders better than the rest while he was doing it?
Nope, doesn't change my opinion at all. Because
I think that was the thing, is that people needed to see the proof of them being that good for them to actually say that they were that good. Do you know what I mean? Just like the videos. What do I say all the time about the football players punching people videos? Why do you have to see it to recognize that it's real? Do you know what I mean? That doesn't make it real. It was already real before it was on video. But anyways, keep going.
Yeah, I mean, everybody's out here. I get it. He technically made him better, but if he's not
a 73-win team,
right? So that argument is just dumb to me, because I still think that Golden State could, yes, beat this Cavs team on their own without Kevin Durant. Well, look, KD put up 30 whatever points a game. Well, then Clay would just step up then and take over that, and Draymond's there, or whatever. I still think they would be the better team. The fact that people out here are saying that this narrative is changed now because he's won and he justified and he proved everybody wrong, I think that's stupid to me, because no, it doesn't change the narrative to me. At the end of the day, did he get his ring? Yes, so if you want to say that he won in that sense, then fine. Yeah, he did win in that sense, but that still, to me, doesn't change the fact that I think it was a weak move. I think it was a soft move. I think that, I don't know if it ruined the NBA, but it has this foundation where the NBA is now
uncompetitive balance for a while.
Yeah, and that's where it's going to be for the next several years. I still think it's his fault in that regard. No, that doesn't change to me. Yeah, you got your ring, congratulations, but everybody that's backpedaling on this whole it was a weak move, that's weak to me. Like that.
I don't think they're backpedaling on that it was a weak move. They're just backpedaling on everything they were saying about him, in the sense of how
does it change? How does him getting a ring change the fact that you
feel
feel that
successful? I guess I'm not trying to defend them, because I've already been on the side of it where
he still didn't quote ruin the NBA. He still didn't make a soft move. Like, yeah, it's still the same thing to me.
I've been on the other side of it the whole time, so I don't understand why they would flip-flop from one side to the other.
I've been using this kickball analogy
just because of a win
this entire time about, if you have a better kickball team, and then, and I joined, that's weak on my part. Okay, so now I got the ring, so that means it still wasn't a weak move on my part? No, it's still a weak move in my opinion.
And look,
like, yeah, you quote win because you got your ring, congratulations, but it's still like, really, bro? And just ask Russell Westbrook what he thinks. Does he still think it's a weak move? Because I'm sure he does.
Right, I know, I completely agree. And this isn't a shot at you or anything. This is me just trying. In the 90s, the Cowboys went and got the two best players from the San Francisco 49ers defense, right? That was pretty dominant for about two or 3 year stretch. And the Cowboys defense was already very good, and they had already just won a Super Bowl, and they just beat the 49ers in the NFC Championship, and then the two best players from the 49ers defense goes and joins the Cowboys the year after, and they win 2 more straight. So, like, these things tend to happen in sports, but it's just magnified a lot more, because we're in 2017 and everything's magnified more when it comes to day-to-day movements, more or less minute-to-minute movements on the court, off the court, whatever. So when, like you said about being bad for basketball, or what were you saying, bad for the brand? What were you saying?
Bad for the league.
Bad for the league. Yeah. What they did in the 90s only shifted for 2 years. What you thought was going to be a 5 or 6 year shift. And what happened in Miami with LeBron and Bosh and Wade. Now, not the same thing, but almost the same thing. Also a team that you thought was going to be dominant for 5+ years ended up being a 4-year run and crumbled at the end of the 4-year run because they ran into a much better coached Spurs team and a much more efficient Spurs team, and then they broke it up. So the swing that had, that we wouldn't, when they were on that stage saying 1, 2, 3, whatever, 5, 6, 7, whatever they were yelling.
Talking about L's.
Whatever they were yelling.
We didn't know you was talking about L's.
My point is what they were yelling on that stage, we didn't think that in 4 years it would just be done and over with. So today, I don't think that in the next 3 or 4 years, just like a presidency, right? 4 more years. I don't think in the next 4 years Golden State's really going to be less dominant. I do think there will be different players around KD and Curry, but I don't think that they're going to be much less dominant over the next 4 years. But at the same time, could have said that in 5 years, the Heat wouldn't be any more dominant, and they ended up being the 6th seed in 5 years after that happened. Do you know what I mean? So sports has a weird way of swinging, and the reason I brought the 90s Cowboys up is because they have a weird way of swinging where it seemed like that Cowboys team was going to be a 5, 6, 7 year dominance, and then after the 2-year run with the 2 new players, they were a 3-year run. But my point, you know what I'm saying?
I'm saying?
Things just happen in sports in the way of, I know what you mean about ruining the league or ruining the competition, but at the same time, things swing so fast. I know, but things swing so fast one way or the other out of nowhere that we don't.
We have to go back to the 90s.
Right, but we don't know the future of it, and it could end like that in a blip. How many times do we see great dynasties just fall apart because of injuries or salary cap? Now salary cap, not as much back in the day, but usually injuries.
Bro, you don't even have to go back to the Cowboys of the 90s. Go back to, and nobody wants to bring this up, but I've been thinking about this for the past couple of days. Everybody said the Seattle Seahawks were going to be this team that was going to win 4 or 5 because they're young and they're dominant.
And now they're talking about trading Richard Sherman.
And now we're talking about, like, what the hell's going on?
How do we make them better? How do we get them a running back and make their defense better? No, you're not wrong.
Right, so that
happens in sports where, like, it seems
it's
like...
It's different because there's only, like, we're talking about...
4 teams in the NBA.
No, not even. We're talking about, football is different because there's 12 men on a roster. We're talking about...
Yeah.
This is... Or, not on a roster, on a,
There's 11 men on the side of a field.
Right. We're talking about... At the NBA, where there are, was there 12 men on roster, whatever the hell it is?
15.
But
either way, 15 or 16.
Where we got, God, 3, 4 of the top 15 players on one squad, and it's kind of just like, where else do you turn at that point? Like, there's nothing out there as far as I'm concerned right now. It's looking like, okay, we can say that, this team in the NBA dominated for several years. This team dominated for several years, and then somebody matched up. But even to your point about that Heat team, the Spurs were always still there, though.
The whole time, they were.
It doesn't feel like anybody else is
Finals
there.
Twice, and they made it to the finals.
It doesn't feel like there's another team there. That's the problem right now.
The Cavs are the only other team there, but not there in the sense of beating them. There in the sense of they're going to be at the finals every year against them. You don't think they're at the finals every year?
I don't know. I don't care. But my point is that to me, it doesn't feel like the Cavs are, the way that they're constructed can beat this Warriors team the way that they're constructed. I just can't see it. And then when you, stop talking about those two teams, what else is there? You can't go back to, the Spurs, they're always going to be here. You can't go back to this team.
25-point lead by the Spurs in Game 1 of the Western Conference Finals with a healthy Kawhi and maybe CP3 next year. I mean, that's the only other really hopeful option, I guess. And something that I keep trying to make relevant was Golden State was down 27 in San Antonio in the third quarter earlier this year and won the game. And that was with Kawhi being healthy. So when they were down 25 at home in the Western Conference Finals, I'm not saying Kawhi getting hurt didn't change the complexion of this game and the outcome of that game.
It did.
But it didn't mean that there wasn't a chance for them to come back, which they did with Kawhi on the floor once before from a bigger deficit. Only 2 points, but still. So just adding CP3 doesn't necessarily, while I think the gaps could be that close, it could also still be that far away is what I was trying to say. While I do think, look, the Spurs are much better than that, and I don't think they lose that game. But my point was, is as close, as much as it could be this close again, it could also still just be that far away, which you were trying to say. We were talking about the Cavs. We'll get into that in a second. I wanted to quickly shout out a couple, because we talked about KD and Curry at extent, which they both deserved it. But I want to shout out a couple more players. One, Draymond, even though it was 10 points in Game 5, all series, production wasn't what people expect from him, but he was still the heartbeat of the team. He was still the one that He only crossed the line a couple times, which you're going to
Only
expect
a couple
him.
times.
But you're cool with that.
As I say, he was a fuck several times.
You're cool with that, though? But that's what you get from Draymond, and that's kind of what their team, they
he
like
was
that
a little
edge
extra
from him.
even for him.
I agree he was a little extra, but
even for him.
they feed off that a little. I agree, but they feed off that a little.
He needs to calm the hell down. Needs to calm the hell down.
We talked about it, how we were making fun of people getting on Clay. Clay, the rest of the series, did what Clay does. He was impressive.
Yeah.
Andre Iguodala in Game 5 was really good. But how about, you got to shout out to the great Sean Livingston and JaVale McGee and the GOAT Matt Barnes and number 0 for all their their hard work to getting to this ring, right?
Yep.
Matt Barnes had the best last 2 weeks in the history of
Life.
I think humans. Yeah,
that's
I mean,
natural.
there's Jesus, which I don't think you can top, but then you got Matt Barnes like right under him in lifestyle, right?
Same color, yeah.
Like you have Matt Barnes as like the next best life to ever
At this
walk
point,
this earth. Yeah, okay. Number 0 is not far behind him, by the way. And all joking aside, Steve Kerr, congratulations to him. 2 out of 3 years, he's been in the finals 3 years in a row, but 2 out of 3 years he's a champion as a coach. I know he went through a lot to get back to the finals this year. Good for him. I'm a big Steve Kerr fan. I know you like Steve Kerr a lot as well. So
kind of looked like a man that was like
retiring.
Yeah.
We both agree on that one.
Yeah.
It felt like
he
it,
was
right?
standing there and he was just crying and he was it came off as somebody that was like, you know what, I'm good.
So you talked about the Cavs, about adjustments, what can they do, this, that, and the next thing. There's 2 things we have to get into it. One, you think we're going to get into like an argument about, and the other one, I want to know your actual opinion about. So, which one would you like to jump into first?
I like talking about L's.
Okay. Why do you think I'm going to argue with you about LeBron?
Because it's LeBron and you'll find a way to twist it and
Probably, but I would like to hear what your, I guess, issue or whatever. What is it that I'm going to be upset about is what I'm asking. Hey, well, just go. Go into whatever you wanted to go to, the spiel or the segment or the clip, tidbit.
I only need to say 2 things, 2 sentences.
Mm-hmm.
You can't spell LeBron without an L.
Mm-hmm.
And 3 and 5 doesn't make you the GOAT.
3 and 5 doesn't
we
make
can,
him the GOAT.
We can just stop having this ridiculous conversation about he's the greatest of all time.
Good thing about you and I is we've never had that conversation because I don't really care for it until LeBron retires, and you...
Well, he's still going to be under 500, so it
you
really
will
doesn't matter
never,
at this point.
You will never put anybody above MJ and then Kobe anyways. So, it would be a pointless conversation between us two. If you want me to try to defend him, I guess...
It's not defending. There's nothing to defend. He lost.
2 finals ago.
Mm-hmm.
I felt like he could have been the finals MVP. I felt like he deserved it more than Andre Iguodala when he led. He was the first ever player in NBA history to lead a team in the 3 major stats: rebounds, points, assists. He averaged more than anybody in the entire series when they lost, and that was with 2 hurt players. Obviously, that's why he did more. That's why his numbers were at the size they were. And they gave Iguodala the MVP. I felt like that year they could have actually gave him the MVP the way they did Jerry West once in a loss. The next year, he got the MVP by being the first ever player to lead in the 5 statistical categories: blocks, steals, rebounds, assists, points. And they won in Game 7, which was, right, you didn't take anything away from that. This year, first ever player to average a triple-double. He averaged, I think it was, 32, 33?
Average triple-double, I'll take it out.
Yeah, he averaged 33 points.
That little detail.
No, I agree. 33 points, 12 rebounds, 10 assists. So, I mean, I don't disagree. Team sport took the L, but he showed up the way I expected him to, and sadly they didn't pull off the W. But when it comes to the sense of, because I guess you were asking about legacy then, when it comes to the sense of legacy, I hear what you're saying on the wins and losses, but
I need to stop hearing this man as being the greatest of all time. I need to stop. I don't want to hear that from anybody.
I don't have him as the greatest of all time. Like, I still have him behind
It's
Jordan.
always been ridiculous to
I always
me,
have Jordan 1, him 2. Like, that's, I've said that if I have
he's
to
above
actually...
Kobe's funny. Kobe took far less talent to the finals and won with those teams than LeBron has lost with. Just saying. LeBron lost with D. Wade and Chris Bosh their first year. He just lost with Kevin Love and Kyrie Irving. That's funny to me. It's just funky.
Kobe's lost with
It's
every
funky.
team he's won with, though. He's lost the year
funky.
before with every
It's
team
funky.
he's won with as well, though, yes,
It's
hasn't
funky. It's funky. I don't know the exact. I don't know.
he? He lost to Detroit and he's lost to the Celtics, and then he won it the year after in both, but those were basically the same constructed teams both years that he won and lost with.
Here's the argument.
No, you got me. But you told me earlier you wanted me to, so that's me coming off the top of the head, trying to just think of what the other side of that would be, I guess.
Kobe won with far less than LeBron just lost with, and so I don't need.
Not ever against a team as good as Golden State. Yes. Did he ever play a team near as good as that? I mean, whoa.
In the finals, fine.
Do you think that the Kobe, I don't know, the Kobe Gasol team that beat the Pistons, right? They beat the Pistons in one, or no, they lost to the Pistons. They beat the Magic, and then they beat the Nets as well, right? No, I forget. Anyways, the team. Okay, the Kobe teams without Shaq.
Yeah,
the Kobe teams without
the
Shaq.
Celtics.
Do you think
they beat that three-headed monster?
Do you think one of I agree. Do you think one of those two teams, the two Kobe wins without Shaq, do you think one of those two teams could have beaten this year's Golden State Warriors? Because I'll be honest, I don't. I think that this year's Golden State Warriors are
That's
a
a
top.
relevant question. That doesn't.
But that's what you just. But the reason you were
saying.
mad at LeBron is because he didn't beat this year's Golden State Warriors, and you're saying that would be the other side of that argument.
That isn't the other side of the argument. That's trying to force an argument to try to.
No. I was just.
Justify LeBron
it's the
taking
same.
his
It's
L.
the comparison of what you were saying there.
It's not. It's not. It's not. No, it's not.
Okay. Well, then I guess I don't have an argument.
It's not.
If it's not, it's not. Then I guess I don't have an argument.
No, he had the bottom line. Do I think? I don't fucking know. Could the Lakers are beating this Golden State Warriors team? Probably not. But at the same time,
But that's
the
what you're
Lakers.
holding against them, right?
I'm holding against him that he had more talent than that
you just
Lakers
said
team,
probably
so
not.
he probably should have won.
But he lost to a team that Lakers team never had to play, right? I'm just trying, like, if you're gonna compare
when
him.
I say I always expect the argument, I can always predict where he's going.
You asked me to, so I'm giving you one.
I didn't
I just said it. Then I'm wrong, and I won't argue it.
I didn't say you were wrong. I just think it's funny. I just need to stop hearing that this man is better than Kobe or Jordan, because to me he's not, and he never will be. And when you have. That's the thing. Now we're going into this freaking off season. What can the Cavs add? Like what? Like it's like
well, I was gonna ask
what
you that
more?
next.
Like
That's
you're already
next.
maxed out. Like
Well,
how many more
you.
damn pieces do they need to add to this team to get W's out here?
This is what I've been hearing. The
Kobe, Gasol,
the hours, days after.
Shannon Brown. Like really?
Well, I wasn't asking about adding.
Start to finish, this LeBron team. Compared to that Lakers team,
I agree with that. I agree with that. They played in a
better.
7-game series that this Cavs team would be favored against that Lakers team. I don't disagree with that. What I was asking you was, did the Lakers team, the teams they had to play, were any of them as good as this Golden State team? Look, it doesn't matter.
They were great at their time. They were great at their time. Yes. They beat
But my
Kevin
point
Garnett,
was,
Paul Pierce, Ray Allen. That
right?
team
No. I don't disagree with that.
Was stacked as well.
My point
wasn't
was
stacked on this level. No.
Right, and that's what I was saying. Is if you're going to hold that against them, you also have to look at the competition that they were playing in comparison to the competition that they're playing. But
we played a great Celtics team.
I don't disagree. That Celtics team would get wiped off the floor by this Golden State team. Do you agree?
I wouldn't say wiped off the floor. I would say Golden State, but I don't think they get wiped off the floor.
I think Golden State wins in 4 or 5. Just like I thought Golden
Boston
State.
And Paul Pierce and
just like
Kevin
I thought
Garnett,
Golden State would.
So that was
but I
love
love LeBron James, Kyrie Irving, and I'm a big fan of Tristan Thompson and J.R. Smith, and I still thought that this team could have gotten swept. So like, I usually am pretty good at putting the bias aside when I come to that stuff. You said about this year's team, what can they add, what they can subtract? My second part question of the whole, because I don't feel like having the argument about LeBron. You feel the way you feel, and I'm always going to feel the way I feel, and I find it ridiculous that people argue about it all the time anyways, because it's more of a personal thing at this point. What I was going to ask you about the Cavaliers in general. I keep hearing about how teams want to now fire the GM, and teams want to now, people want to fire the GM, and people want to, The big thing I keep hearing is Kevin Love getting traded for X player, right? I heard Kevin Love and somebody else getting traded for Jimmy Butler. Kevin Love and somebody else getting traded for Paul George.
Let's just add 8 small forwards to the team.
Could you imagine...
Let's add Carmelo.
If you just trade Kevin Love and somebody for Paul George, does it put them over the hump for Golden State? I say no.
No.
So if they do that for Jimmy Butler as well, no?
No.
Melo. Okay.
Hell no.
So we agree, and I'm a Melo fan.
That
we
doesn't
agree.
Work. That doesn't even work.
I don't see. Here's the one thing I do think that we don't account for, and I kept saying for a long time it didn't work, but I've started to analyze it a little differently in the last, I'd say, probably 6 months. Players tend to play different. Like J.R. Smith played differently without LeBron than when he did with LeBron. You're held to a different accountability, and you're supposed to play in a different style of basketball. I feel like Melo would actually be okay with LeBron.
So LeBron takes his backseat to like I don't understand how it works. I don't even understand how it works.
Because it would be the same way that it works with Kyrie and LeBron right now. Some nights
Kyrie's a young stud, and he just.
I hear you, but some nights LeBron just sits back and lets Kyrie go out. No, I hear you, but sometimes he just lets him go back for 35. Just like sometimes he might just sit back and let. I mean, there was look, Kevin Love had a 38-point game this year where he outscored both of them. There is nights where they are okay with a different guy going off. I'm not disagreeing with you.
I just don't see I'm not talking about just the numbers. I just don't see it clicking. I don't see putting LeBron and Melo on the same court together, not in the USA basketball teams, working. I just don't. How? Like, I just don't see that. LeBron or Melo needs the ball all day long, so I don't like this. But Kyrie's the point guard, so he needs the ball. Do you get rid of Kyrie then? Like, how does that work? There's not enough basketballs out here.
Two things that I do think that the Cavaliers need to change is the ISO basketball. Whenever the ball goes to LeBron's hands or the ball goes to Kyrie's hands, the ball stops there. It doesn't really ever go out of their hands. Now, LeBron maybe 14 to 15 times a game, and they make 9 or 10 of them, so that's how he averages the double-digit assists. But for the most part, if he touches the ball 57 times, he only passes it, 20, 30 times a game, so he holds on to it 30 times. I mean, that's over 50% of the time. Kyrie, over 75% of the time, if the ball ends up in his hands on a possession, he doesn't get rid of it. They got to figure out a way. The thing that Golden State was burning them on the other side, on the defensive side of the thing, was Golden State can just pass the hell out of the ball, obviously. Now, Golden State, one of the best passing teams I've ever personally seen. I don't know what they look like in the 70s, 80s, and I couldn't even tell you much about outside of the playoff games that I ever watched of the Bulls 90s teams of how they passed well in the 90s. But this is the best passing team in the modern era that I've seen. Talking 2000 to now type thing.
Let's not forget the Spurs.
No, and the Spurs can pass the heck out of the ball since Pimpin's been pimping. I don't disagree with that. I'm just saying, in the sense of the rotation, how quick this ball moves around, there's just more, on paper, talent and skill that can get that ball around like that.
There's too many three-point shooters out there.
And that's why the ball can move around the arc the way it does, and it looks more pretty doing it around the arc because you just can't throw it into the teeth of the defense, obviously. So I understand why it looks better, but it just, the passing is the difference there, where you go down the other end and then the ball's in LeBron's hands and either he stops for a pull-up three or he takes it inside and then just tosses it out in a quick shot. It's never really pass, shoot, where the other side it is. Do you know what I mean? So that's the thing that I think they need to change if they were to get a Melo, even if they don't get a Melo with Kevin Love. But if they were to get a Melo or a Butler or a Paul George, the other thing they need to change then is they don't throw the ball inside at all. I know they don't throw the ball around in general, and I guess that kind of goes with the same frame, but I know Tristan Thompson isn't a guy to grab the ball, post somebody up like Shaq was. But when you have somebody with the talent of Kevin Love, even though he's standing on the three-point line, and I know people kept saying, when he posted up last year in the beginning of the year, remember they kept saying, it wasn't working. Remember Kevin Love was getting like 6 points a game or whatever it was because they kept saying, he doesn't go to the three-point line. That's part of his game, blah, 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 blah. You could still post people up at some point, and they don't ever just throw the ball down low. They got to change those two things up or else they'll never beat this Golden State team, no matter if it's Kevin Love, Jimmy Butler.
They didn't get young out here. I don't even want to.
Wayne Gretzky or Carmelo Anthony.
People saying I can get Jimmy Butler more than I can get a Carmelo Anthony. I think it works better. Two, I don't think they need to get older at this point. No, they need to get athletic. They need to get younger. They need somebody, or more than somebody. They need a couple people that could run with this Golden State squad that would just run up and down you all day. Adding Carmelo Anthony does not do that. Maybe a Jimmy Butler, maybe that helps the situation. They're not getting Kawhi Leonard, so what do you add? That's my big issue with this whole situation is that Golden State has all this talent over here, and it's not spread out throughout the league. And then you got Cleveland, who has pretty much everybody else, and then it's nothingness that can't compete with these two levels right here. But this series has showed me that Cleveland is not they're the next best thing, but I don't think that they're
a KD away from that Golden State team. is how I described it last time. Is that would be
right, and
basically what you're
it's
saying?
not out there,
Right.
but it's not out there.
KD's not out there.
So,
KD's the second best player in the world. You're not going to find
this
him
is
again.
why I keep saying, now what? Like,
It's
there's
LeBron, KD,
nothing
and everybody
out
else
there.
right now. I mean,
There's nothing that they
DeMarcus
can pick
Cousins.
up. He's not.
He doesn't work
he
with
just
them.
went
He
to-
doesn't work
he
with
did-
them.
No, 1, 2. He just went to New Orleans. He ain't going nowhere. He's staying there.
Well, if he doesn't sign a contract this year, they're talking about trading him. Well, I think he signs a contract, and him and Anthony Davis ball out together.
So you switch out Kevin Love and put him Boogie. That makes a huge difference. No, it really doesn't.
I'm not saying it does. I'm not saying it does. Because, look, Kevin Love had a game in the playoffs where he went 25 points and 17 rebounds. Like, DeMarcus Cousins' best night's going to be basically that anyway. So it's not like you're yes, you're upgrading.
It's darker.
But are you
so,
upgrading? You lost 2 games by 20 points. Are you upgrading four different games there? No, you're maybe 2, maybe 1.
You get the same player, one's blacker. Like, that's dumb to me. There's nothing out there as far as I'm concerned. I just, like, it's the NBA that apparently we support now.
The one argument I would make, you were saying how Melo, you don't think he would be all that good with them. I don't think he'd be as good as Jimmy Butler or as Paul George, but I do think on the offensive side of
sense to me.
I think all 3 of them make sense, and I think Melo is the lowest of those 3 due to age, obviously, but I think that all 3 of them make sense, and I think Melo even fits with them because Melo can run and shoot, and you need a guy who can catch the ball and shoot in that offense, and he does that better than Kevin Love. That is the one thing he does better. Now, he doesn't rebound as good as Kevin Love, nor does he play any kind of defense.
So
not that Kevin Love plays a lot of defense, but
so we put LeBron at power forward,
I'm not
and then
saying,
we have to have him do the
I'm not saying that's the
triple-double
answer.
thing every night.
I wasn't saying that was the answer. I was just, I think he is as, look, Jimmy Butler is a better two-way player, and Paul George is a better two-way player, but not that great on defense. But Melo can outshoot either of them, and if you're just looking for shooting, which Cavaliers have been looking for, not saying they need much more, but that's their thing, then he does somewhat make sense more than I think that you think he does. Doesn't matter either way. I don't think they get Melo. I don't think they get Paul George or Jimmy Butler. I think they stay with what they got going into next year, personally, but I don't know because they don't even... The GM, as of, I think, next week or the week after, his contract's up. So unless they re-sign him here in the next X amount of time, they're going to be... maybe going in a different direction. I don't know. Kyrie, bad first 2 games, good last 3 games, even though they lost 2 of the last 3. But he averaged 30 plus in those 3 games. I mean, he did his thing. I think he stepped up, and obviously, who knows when this is going to be. It could be a couple years from now. It could be next year. It could be 20 years from now. Who knows at this point with LeBron. But one day this is going to be Kyrie's team. And if he has those kind of numbers and he plays that well, and if he can learn to move the ball a little more than he does at the moment, he will be a top 5 superstar in this league. That it's impressive what he does on the stage. And I know it's, kind of overshadowed because LeBron gets the triple-double and people don't look at Kyrie in that sense. And it takes for him to actually, in Game 7, to make the game-winning shot for people to notice him doing something like this.
Which is ridiculous to me.
But Kyrie is, he is a top 5 point guard, and I was impressed and excited to see how he bounced back. Even in Golden State, not just in Cleveland for those 2 games, in Golden State, in Game 5 in the loss, he was right there with LeBron. He was, he was that Batman, or he was that Robin that Batman's always looking for. Kyrie's obviously going to be there. They're not going to get rid of Tristan Thompson because he's, heart and soul or whatever they keep calling him of the team. A.k.a. he's LeBron's good friend. And they're not going to get rid of LeBron. So that's why I kept saying Kevin Love and X traded, right? It's going to be Kevin Love and J.R. Smith, or Kevin Love and Shumpert, or Kevin Love and Kyle Korver, or Kevin Love and... not Richard Jefferson, because no one's going to trade for that. But you know what I mean. Dante Jones, who has beat LeBron and Pig once and got a playoff contract year after year. That's a joke. I don't know why Dante Jones keeps getting there. I just assume he beat LeBron and Pig once, and that's why. Speak to Tristan Thompson here, because I know you are one to hold people accountable. So it's kind of hard in a 5-game series when the guy has 2.5 good games and 2.5 bad games. There's nothing they could do to beat them, but if he showed up bigger in the first 2 games, yeah, No?
No. Nah. Tristan Thompson's never been an impactful player like that. Like
you and I agree that I think he's. I like Tristan Thompson. I think he has a role. I think he's super overvalued. I wouldn't call him overrated. I call him overvalued.
Because we overrated his talent. Ain't no we, but because
you and I know where he's really at, where people take it like, oh, when it comes to these moments, they want to see something different than, like, I get that against bad inside weak teams he puts up crazy numbers, but against good team, like against a Draymond Green, he's never been able to put those numbers up, like his entire career. So it's not something we expected him to ever be able to do anyways, you and I, where people were like, oh, look at what he did against, no offense to Al Horford, but an old Al Horford who doesn't even play inside anymore. Literally, Al Horford is standing 20 feet from the basket on every play now because he doesn't want to go down low. And that's who Tristan Thompson, like, that's who he was out-rebounding the whole time, a guy who was 20 feet from the basket. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And Tristan Thompson is extremely good at the offensive side. Like, I'm not taking away what he actually does. I just felt like he was overvalued his whole career. So we're on the same page there. I don't know. I'm just trying to figure out more from these finals, because last July 4th, we could have had this entire conversation and broke this down the same exact way, and you could have just gave me those numbers then, and I wouldn't really have thought much different than I do right now. Yes?
Factual. Which is why the NBA was, quote, ruined, because...
Is the NBA your favorite sport? Or basketball your favorite sport? The NBA your favorite league, I guess? Association?
Probably. As much as I...
I'm mad at it at the moment. Right.
No, yeah, well, no, not even. I was thinking more so, I mean, yeah, I mess with the NFL, obviously. And,
hard.
But, no, definitely basketball. I've always enjoyed it just a little bit more.
I know we both wore our NBA stuff. We're both, even though it was as, we're searching for things here in the last 10 minutes to talk about with this, as much as that is,
it's just so whack to me right now.
I still am disappointed that it's over. You?
No, I was telling you when we were watching that game. I said, "Man, I hope this is over."
I should have done this.
Because I already knew what the outcome was. I felt that I already knew the outcome, which was Golden State was still going to win.
I love baseball.
I don't need this. I don't need this to like they're up 3-0. I don't need it to be 3 or they were up 3-1. I don't need this to go to 6 or 7 because I still would say no. Golden State's winning this. Like, I don't need a story that I already had written off a year ago.
As much as I love baseball, and as much as I love the All-Star Game, and as much as I love that OTAs are coming to an end soon, and we're soon enough we're going to get to training camp, and I get all of it, but it's still...
The conclusion was written a year ago.
I know.
That's why I'm just like...
It's still disappointing to see it happen and end and be over.
I'm glad it's over. Let's get something new. Let's get, like, meaning NBA.
4 more years.
Hopefully...
4 more years.
Something needs to stir up because this is just going to turn whack to me. It's
Lonzo
already practically there. Yeah, Sixer. That's where he belongs.
I think he's going to the other team that we're wearing on the show tonight.
Keep believing.
We have another, I think, week, maybe 2 weeks to talk about the draft. We'll get into the NBA draft a little bit more than we have. We talked about it a good amount, actually, for you hating drafts like a couple months out, which has been pretty fun for me. But we'll definitely talk about it a little more going deeper. Does that wrap up our NBA coverage? That hurts if it does, but it might be it.
Kind of feels good because LeBron's like an L, but yeah.
But you're also disappointed because Golden State won.
Yep.
Shout out to Golden State. Shout out to Oakland. Shout out to...
Correction, I'm disappointed. Durant won.
Yeah. You like Curry, though, right? I know you like Curry. You like Clay, and you like Draymond.
Yep. I mess with all of them except
I like all of them, and I'm okay with Durant.
I still think he deserved that L.
To me, shout out to KD for overcoming everything in his whole life, not this season. I get this season. I understand. I'm not going to say. You're going to get on this season. I meant life. I meant life, my man.
He just overcame.
I meant life. Came from a bad situation to holding that trophy up. Good for him.
My ass on that team. I got a ring, too.
I hear you. And look, number 0 and Matt Barnes and Sean Livingston all agree.
Yep.
But shout out to KD, shout out to Kerr, shout out to Oakland, shout out to the actual Warriors fans that suffered the amount of years they did to get to this point.
All 6 of y'all.
Yeah. Baron Davis in the house.
If you don't know who Corey Maggette is, then I don't want to hear from them. Like,
what?
Who? Then I don't want to hear from you, Golden State fans. Fuck out of here.
Lucky for you, you don't have to hear about LeBron for another couple months, so that's a win.
Apparently he's going mute, which is beautiful to me.
He does that every offseason. So...
And it's beautiful every time.
To the NBA season, that I guess is over.
Horrible NBA Finals. No, I should say horrible NBA postseason.
What about regular season?
It was meh. It was alright. I think that might have been more compelling just because you had a couple other stories going on. You had the Knicks being, the Knicks. You had Of course, Russ out there. I mean, it was
Harden trying to chase Russ.
Yeah. It was. I think that was more compelling than these playoffs were. These playoffs were anticlimactic to me. Like it was just like,
You know,
we all know the outcome. 1-2. It was just like
I forgot.
It just wasn't competitive.
How could I forget? How could I forget? How could I do this to you, Dwight? How could I even? Man, you've been hyping these up for so long. The season's not over. We still got the NBA awards hosted by your boy Drake.
That's when I think things could have get any worse for the NBA. Who is watching that, dude? Seriously. Are you watching that? Please tell me you're not. No. Okay. I'm damn sure not watching that.
I don't watch any of the award shows. I'm a sports freak.
Like,
I watch the ESPYs.
The NBA Finals are
I don't even like ESPN the way they do things, but I like the ESPYs. I don't like the award shows for the NHL. I don't like the NHL. I don't like the NBA award show, which is going to be the first one. I don't like the NFL one. MLB has one.
Like, how does that look going, okay, well, Russ, you're the MVP, which he's going to get it. Okay, Russ, you're the MVP, but you got eliminated to win? Oh, yeah, Russ, so yeah, you had a good year, shout out to him. Like, how does that work? Like, this is a fail on the NBA's part. It's stupid.
So before we move on to the next topic, well, it's going to be a next topic, but there's a topic I want to sandwich in between that I didn't talk to you about in the pre-show that I'm going to add really fast. While I'm doing shout-outs. Shout-out to Rafael Nadal. His 10th ever French Open happened over the weekend. Serena, Tiger are the most dominant the most dominant athletes I've ever seen in sports, and they're in individual sports, obviously. But overall, in their own sport, right? Nadal in the French Open on the clay court, most dominant I've ever seen, even including those two. Even with Tiger lapping the field twice once. And that one tournament's great, and he was always good at that, always good at Torrey Pines is where he did that. Tiger was always really good at Torrey Pines. He was not Nadal good at the French Open on the clay courts. So shout out to him. That is an impressive feat that in America we don't really care about boxing anymore. We don't care about tennis. We don't really care much about IndyCar racing. There's a lot of things we don't care about, soccer, that the rest of the world cares about. That's something the rest of the world cares about, and that's something that on the national scale, if America cared about it, would be like freaking out about. Like it is something that I can't really even measure to something in American sports. But it is a very big deal. It's as big as the Golden State Warriors winning a championship, him winning 10 French Opens. And I understand that there's no way for me to really put it for people that are watching this to understand unless they actually have any understanding of tennis. So like I'll never be able to magnify it myself because I don't follow tennis other than the majors. I understand that I understand that. So, but shout out to him. I always try to the abstract sports, the sports that don't get paid attention to. I always try to throw them into us a little bit because that is a huge deal, and that's something that I was following for the whole tournament. I'm glad to see him do it. I thought it was cool that Roger Federer tweeted at him, who has basically been his biggest rival his whole career. I thought it was just like the way everyone reacted across sports, but mainly in the tennis world. And so shout out to him. Good for him. Congratulations on top of it, even though I doubt he's watching our show. There is one more topic of championship sports to get to.
Yeah, this was just a horrible weekend for you, wasn't it?
I had a good weekend. I had fun. Like I had a fun weekend, but it wasn't like I was like
just L's after L's, huh?
Teams I'm rooting for, yeah.
It kind of brings me joy.
The Phillies got swept this weekend as well.
Even funnier.
And they lost on a walk-off on Monday in Fenway, so
that's even more funny than what you're about to explain to me. Because I know you really care about that team. It's funny.
The great city of Kansas City almost had the Pittsburgh Penguins once.
You get it.
And they would have back-to-back championships today if they did get them.
You get it.
But the NHL stepped in just like the NBA did with CP3 once and made sure that didn't happen. Because to the NHL's credit, and look, as much as I can't stand the Pittsburgh Penguins because I'm a Flyers fan, to the NHL's credit, they went in, and their last resort to them is letting a team move. Like the Atlanta Thrashers not too long ago moved to the Winnipeg, the Winnipeg Jets. It was the literal last resort. Like the NHL will do everything they possibly can to keep a team in a city it's in, and literally to the point where the team was already sold, but the NHL was still fighting for other groups to come in, that they turned down the sale to make sure that because they thought they had another group, which Mario Lemieux was 1/3 of, and he bought.
Yeah, all right.
That's a whole different story for a different day. That's just me trolling the Pittsburgh Penguins and their fans who didn't care in 1996 and 1997 when that happened.
Who don't care now because they got a W and the Flyers there.
They are the biggest thing in hockey right now. The Pittsburgh Penguins are not Kansas City. They are Pittsburgh, and they are still the Flyers' biggest rival, and they have now won back-to-back Stanley Cups. So I have to deal with that, I guess. Sidney Crosby is only the third player in the history of the NFL to go back-to-back Conn Smythe Trophy winners. The first one was Bernie Parent in the 80s. Shout out to the Flyers goalie. But the second one happened to be Mario Lemieux in the 90s, 92, and 93. And now the third one in 2016, 2017 happens to be another Pittsburgh Penguin, the better Pittsburgh Penguin.
Sounds
Sidney
like a
Crosby.
rivalry, all right.
Well, you know what's crazy? Is the Flyers technically own that rivalry, which is like insane. Now, at this exact moment, I get back-to-back Stanley Cups. I'm not sitting here trying to say that the Flyers own the rivalry. What I am saying is, when it comes to the overall matchups and numbers and everything, the Flyers have their number, but look, the Penguins, the last 10 years are the better run organization. I mean, the Flyers have had a very good run over those 10 years, and they have been, look, the Flyers have only missed the playoffs 4 times in my entire life. It is the most impressive thing of a team that I follow in sports. The Flyers are the most consistent sporting team that I have to deal with. Probably why, when I was at a younger age, that I picked hockey as my favorite sport and wanted to play it, because the Flyers were the most consistent since I can remember. But with that said, even over the last 10 years and how consistent the Flyers have been, where they've missed 3 playoffs in the last 10 years, and I've been alive for 26 years, they only missed the playoffs 5 times in my entire life. So 3 of them come in the last 10 years. I'm not sitting here saying that they're holding up with Pittsburgh these last 10 years.
Negative, because that's false.
Because Pittsburgh has made the playoffs all 10 of those years, which, shout out to them for that on top of it. That largely comes in the sense of they have somebody as good as Sidney Crosby. Let the talk begin about Sidney Crosby now being a top 5 player of all time. I know most people, and we were talking about basketball, which you're more on the basketball side of listing the best players of all time, but in hockey, people talk about Gretzky #1, obviously, but then they talk about maybe, right, exactly, there's no other conversation, but then they talk about Lemieux.
That's how I feel about Jordan. But
and they talk about #4, Bobby Orr, and there's a very good list behind there, but they're now talking about Crosby in there, and I'll be honest with you, as much as I'm a...
Go ahead. Break your soul.
You're a Cowboys fan, and you know how I don't necessarily hate Dez, and I don't hate Dak, and I don't hate Zeke, and I kind of have an understanding and respect. I have an understanding and respect for the Penguins and for Lemieux, and I have an understanding and respect for Crosby. And I honestly think...
So big of you to say that.
That when it comes to between the two of them, and it makes a lot of Penguins fans it used to make a lot of Penguins fans mad that I used to say that, again, with just like LeBron. When it comes to the end of his career, maybe I can actually have this conversation, but I just feel like from watching in real time, Crosby might have had a better run and now having a better career than Lemieux. Now he has 3 cups to Lemieux's 2, and Lemieux had the back-to-back Conn Smythe. Crosby has now the back-to-back Conn Smythe. Crosby has been the much better regular season player, but to me, it doesn't matter how many cups you have. That doesn't make them better. There's some players that have more cups than others that aren't better, but Crosby getting a 3rd cup, it is just one more peg on that legacy of me always saying I felt like he was the better Penguin, and here he is. To put his career in a capsule, I mean, what he did to get 2 Olympic gold medals with Canada, which means way more than it does in basketball. It means way more in hockey than it ever will in basketball. To get the amount of Stanley Cups that he has, to lead the league in points the amount of times he has, to be concussed and go through the injuries and come back the amount of times and the way he has, multiple years. His whole career, it's impressive. And for him to do this is impressive. And I of course, I hate seeing him being the one holding up that trophy. I mean, it's gut-wrenching, man. It's horrible. But congratulations to them. Congratulations to the people that I know, that I'm friends with, that I'm, human friends with, that are Penguins fans.
Lifelong Penguins fans.
That are actually, I know a good amount of lifelong Penguins fans. As much as I like to make fun of, the city and a lot of these fake Penguins fans for not being fans in 96, 97 when the team was being sold, I know more than a handful of fans that were fans at the time that can name you players off of those teams outside of Lemieux and Jaromir Jagr. So, I like to poke fun, and I like to make fun, I like to, I have the understanding and realization of how it is. And look, if the Flyers weren't in Philadelphia. Like, actually, not the Flyers, because the Flyers have never been really bad enough, I guess, to get to that point. But the Phillies right now, right? Their attendance is as low as it's ever been. If they weren't in Philadelphia, they could be like the Expos, and somebody might be trying to trade, sell them off to a different area. But they're just in a top 5 major market. I understand where I'm at with Philly, but the one thing I do want to say, if you want to go past Crosby, because I know we don't talk a whole lot of hockey on here, but I wanted to get a little deep into this, right? Murray, the goalie for Penguins, he only played in 26 games last year overall. You need to play in 28 to be considered a rookie, so he wasn't even considered a rookie last year, and they won the Stanley Cup. He played all the playoff games for them, and they won the Stanley Cup. So this year was technically his rookie year, right? He won the Stanley Cup last year as the goalie. He was in net for the entire Cup Finals this year as the goalie. So technically, as a rookie, he has 2 Stanley Cups, and he was the goalie in both of them. I know it doesn't add up or make sense, but congratulations to him. That's just impressive. The fact that, even if you take off the rookie quote, the fact that he played last year 26 games, did what he did in the playoffs. This year, got hurt. He got hurt in game 1 of the playoffs this year in warm-ups. Didn't play the first series and a half. Fleury got beat for 6 goals in a game. They put Murray in, and he was sensational ever since. So 2 years in a row, he was the anchor in net for a Stanley Cup team.
Wow.
And he never played in the NHL before that. Take off the rookie quote. That's impressive and something that needs to be noted in the first place. So congratulations to him as well. He's also one of the best dressed men in sports. That's coming from a Flyers fan. And the other guy I want to shout out to from the Penguins is Rust. He was a former Golden Domer, Notre Damer. So, shout out to him. He had a big...
Shout him out just
because of course. He had a big year, and he had a couple of big moments in the Stanley Cup. But Rick Tocchet used to be a Flyer as well. He's an assistant coach for the Penguins. He had
any way you can get it, huh?
Yeah, of course.
Just any way you can get it.
No, I don't get it at all in this, actually. I get it in no ways after this.
Any way
Even
you can
those
get
guys
it.
holding up the cup, I'm happy for them.
Any way you can get it.
No, it's just because
Yes.
I can be
Yes.
happy for people in sports,
Anytime
even if I
you get
don't
it.
like them. I'll be,
Anytime you can get it.
I'm not a hater.
It's a
I'm too much of a
constant
I'm a hippie, man.
That has
I got
nothing
love,
to do-
peace, and
that has
happiness.
Zero to do with
Do
what
I
I'm
hate
talking
on
about.
anybody?
That has nothing to do
Do
with
I
what
hate
I'm
on
talking
anybody?
about. I'm talking about you always gotta have. You just always gotta mention. Well, Philly. Well, you play for Philly. Oh, they play for Notre Dame.
That's me showing my appreciation to them.
That's what I'm saying. Any chance you
Am
can
I a
get
hater
it.
though?
Any
I'm a
chance
lover,
you
not a
can get it.
hater. That's why, because I'm a lover. So of course, if I love you forever, and I like to see you do well. And
The show's turning
the
left.
fact
real
that they're
quick.
so happy.
The show's turning left real quick. Any way you can get your little. Oh, but they were for Philly at one point. They played for Notre Dame at one point. So.
Can I also shout out?
So anyway, you can just throw Philly or Notre Dame out here. Shout out to yay.
That wasn't the reason I did. I just did it because I wanted to appreciate them. Can I also shout out
Any way you can get it.
the Predators, the other team that had to play in this, the 16th seed in the entire tournament. This tournament only takes 16 teams. The Predators were the last team to make the tournament for the Stanley Cup playoffs. They were literally a minute and 32 away from going to an overtime in Game 6, maybe going to a Game 7 in the Stanley Cup. So shout out to them. Never did anyone think they were going to get there. Their first and last goal, the first goal of the series taken away by the refs. Last goal of the series taken away by the refs.
It's rigged.
That's a hard pill to swallow. I don't think it's rigged, but that's a hard pill to swallow.
That's one of their mothers. That's one of their mothers.
Well, I was going to go into that here in a second, but the reason that people think that the NHL side of the refs would rig it would be because obviously it is better for Sidney Crosby to hold the Stanley Cup up than it is Mike Fisher. I am not on the side of that I think it's rigged. I'm going to be on straight up right now. I'm on record right now.
Conspiracy theorist.
I'm on record right now. I don't think it's rigged. I do think that it was messed up that they took the first goal away, the PK Subban goal. I didn't think that was offsides A, and I also didn't understand why, if you're going to take the goal away, why didn't they put the time back on the clock, blah, 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 XOXO, right? Remember how I was arguing that? Mm-hmm. Why didn't, in this aspect where there was a goal, but the ref called the whistle because he lost sight of the puck, so he thought it was in the goalie's pads, and it wasn't. So someone scored, and the entire play was still moving, and no one waited for the whistle. Why is it in that aspect that we didn't put the time back on the clock then? We don't count one thing, but we count everything else in the other replay. With this replay, we don't count everything else, and we only count one. I'm just confused on... I still don't understand the NHL's replays rules, and I brought that up because of the first goal in Game 1, and I'm bringing it back up because now the first goal in Game 5 or Game 6, same exact thing, different outcome, different reversal, hurting the same team, and you still made the same mistake where like you don't change everything else around it. I don't get it. That's something I think the NHL needs to go back and review that no one's talking about for some reason.
No.
Which is odd to me. If that was in the NBA, people would be in an uproar if it happened the way that it happened.
Yeah, it's stupid.
But I don't think that it's rigged. I don't think that the ref called that whistle because it was a loose puck and the Predators were about to score, or that because they actually didn't think that the play was offsides in Game 1. I think that they called that because they really thought the play was offsides and he really lost the puck. And the sad part about sports is sometimes the referees are humans and make human mistakes. And did that take away 2 big goals in 2 games that the Predators lost in 2 things that could have changed the entire series? Sadly, yes, but that's sports, you know? And I would feel sick if I was a Predators fan, no doubt, but I can't justify it. I'm not trying to say like there's, you know, it needs to be something that could be corrected or needs to be fixed, but I also, if I was on the other side of it, I'm saying I would feel sick and I would hate it, but I it's how it goes. I don't know how else to explain it, and it's rough and it's sad and it sucks, and I still think the Penguins were the better team, even though they were outplayed in 5 of those 6 games, and it's weird, and hockey's a hard sport to explain in the first place, so when you have things like that happen, it gets 10 times worse. But the sports, I mean, if that happened in basketball, do you think people would be able to have the reaction that I have, that it's like, that's sports, sadly, or do you think it would just be talked about for months on end until something was done about it? Like people, people burning at the stakes, do you know what I mean?
People actually give a shit and things would change.
So you think it should be like burning at the stakes, people should be yelling at the NHL?
Most
you know
likely.
what, I'm not against that, I'm honestly not. I don't know how I can personally make the impact or difference on it. I would like to see them be better, especially in that moment, in those 2 moments that changed the whole series, but at the same time, I still felt like even though the Penguins weren't the better team in 5 or 6 of those games, they were the better team overall in the entire series. Even like not saying the played, but I meant like just overall the better team. Do you know? So like it's weird. Hockey's weird in general that like the best team doesn't always win, or the best playing team doesn't always win. You know, like so like I guess that's why I accept it a little more in that sport than the other way. I wanted to bring that up with the refs, so can you hold off on that for 1 second? The last thing I wanted to bring up with the NHL, I'm very tired of people hating on PK Subban. All I heard this entire series was about like when Crosby was dribbling his head off the ice.
Which that was bullshit.
That was, well, look.
No.
The entire,
no.
Play. I agree. No, I agree.
The lack of backlash for that is bullshit.
He needed to get a fine.
Nobody was
He
talking.
needed to get a fine. Any
just
other
kept-
player gets
we just-
suspended. I'm okay with Crosby just getting fined because he's Crosby, and you can't do that to him in the Stanley Cup. I understand
He
that.
kept replaying that damn thing over and over and over again, and there was nothing wrong
I have
with
a
it.
problem
I was
with
like,
it.
really?
I
My
personally-
man is pushing this other man's head into this ice, and he should have got him. First of all, he should have got up and beat the shit out of him. Number one, let's just throw that out.
Subban could too.
Number one. Number two, the lack of outrage from that is bullshit to me. Like, are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? That's cool. That's just acceptable.
From
Like,
being-
this is that bullshit with the NHL that I don't understand. Like, why is some things cool, but any other sport we be outraged about?
From being on the rare side
that's
of
bullshit.
from
That's
being in-
bullshit.
from
pushing
being-
my head into the fucking ice. Are you kidding me? You should have got him and beat the shit out of him.
No, I agree. From being on the rare side of basically born and bred to hate Sidney Crosby, even though I didn't know I was born and bred to hate Sidney
Nah,
Crosby.
he was a bitch for that.
No, but from being on the side of a Flyers fan, but also understanding and respecting Sidney Crosby, even I have a problem with what he did there. Like I am not okay with that at all.
That was a bitch.
His excuse was stupid to me. The entire thing was ridiculous.
And nobody cared. Nobody cared. Sudan didn't even care. He got up and just let it go. I was like, really?
He tackled him. He tackled him, put him back down on the ice, and then moved on with it. I don't disagree with you though. Look, to me,
Hockey's fucking a bunch of weirdos play hockey. Dude.
I honestly
bunch
think
of weirdos like hockey. I'm sorry.
Honestly, I like hockey,
Sure, that
and
makes
I'm a
sense.
weirdo. I honestly think that any other player other than Crosby probably gets suspended for doing that. But I think Crosby, and you can't suspend Crosby in the Stanley Cup. Not for that. He needed to do something a little more egregious.
Shoving a guy's face into the ice.
I hear you, but sadly,
shoving it repeatedly. This is that
He
double
didn't even get
standard with
suspended,
hockey
that's
that
my
I'm
biggest
talking
issue.
about. This is that double standard with hockey. That apparently that's cool. Any other sport, that would not be okay.
that would not
If
be
somebody
okay.
was in the NFL doing the same thing, rubbing somebody's head into the turf, it would be a Dominic Sousa. He's a a thug and he needs to be suspended. Doesn't make any sense to me.
Well, where I was going with this whole thing to start off with the whole PK Subban thing is PK Subban, he gets excited after he scores a goal. He talks a little more, not just in the media, but like even to his own teammates or like to the other team. He's a little more entertainment, I guess. You know what he is? He's more Cam Newton on the ice than Tom Brady. Is that the best way to put it, right? Where he has a little more show me in him than other players on the ice. And just like in baseball, there has been a huge struggle in hockey of the whole, we have a problem with show me. But for the Mike Milburys, and not just him, because fans, other analysts, players, the reason I'm pointing Mike Milbury out is because his quote was, well, he finally got what was coming to him. I have a problem with the hatred on PK Subban because when Jonathan Toews scores and he does the, or when Kane scores and he does the, or when they're throwing their hands in the air, or they're doing the arrow, or they're singing at karaoke bars in Chicago, no one has a problem with it. We love Jonathan Toews. We love Patrick Kane. PK Subban, though, does the arrow, singing Johnny Cash at a bar. Well, it's a little much for NHL players. Look, with the Colin thing, we brought up race a million times. With other things, we brought up race a million times. I'm not saying this is necessarily race.
I'm not saying it.
But I think it plays some kind of factor in the ridiculous amount of hate on PK Subban in this sport over doing things that other players are doing, and people are like, well, he deserves it. Like, I've seen Claude Giroux celebrate, captain of the Flyers, my favorite team, like crazy after a goal. Look, you know me, I'm on the side of if you score a goal in soccer, NHL, if you score a touchdown in the NFL, if you get a home run in the MLB, that's something that I can never imagine doing, and that's something that they work really hard to do, and that's something they get paid a lot to do, and that's something that the rest of us can't do, and that's why they get paid a lot to do. So I don't care that they get excited and celebrate that they do those things. But people hate it, but it's like a little hate it more with PK Subban for some reason.
Because he's black. Fuck. You got it out of me. Are you happy now?
I wasn't looking out at you. I was just trying to figure.
You kept poking his
bear. I'm not looking for you. I'm just saying in general. Like,
because he's black. Because he's black.
And
he's acting like.
But that sucks if that's the reason.
I'm not even just saying. I'm just saying it's a cultural thing. It's not even just because he's black. It's a cultural thing.
It is a cultural thing because even I feel like if another player.
Same thing. Why is Gronk now the thug, but Cam Newton is? I don't like.
Yeah. No, you're right.
It's cultural.
You're right.
I don't know what else it is. Sometimes when the obvious is the only thing left, that's what I gotta go with.
The refs.
What else is it?
Not just in those two things that I was telling you about the first goal and the last goal. Both ways, the rest of the series against the Penguins for the Penguins, against Nashville for Nashville, were really bad. The refs in the NBA Finals weren't all that good. The umpires in the World Series last year weren't all that good. It seems like a common theme in championship series for us to be talking about the refs being part of the notion. Is that something, is that a every league problem that needs to get fixed, or is that something that us as fans, we're just picking up more, we're noticing more, and we need to adjust to?
No, the refs need to get it right the first
You think
time.
they need to adjust to it?
Yeah, definitely.
I'm okay with them getting it wrong the first time. It's the fact that they can go back and fix it, then go back and fix it.
Right.
The issue is with balls and strikes in the MLB, but that's a different conversation for a different day. But like when it comes to things you can review in the NBA, when it comes to things you can review in hockey, and when it comes to fair and foul or just the other, not balls and strikes, but everything else you can review in the MLB, you would like to see them get that more right consistently on the big scales.
Yep.
I don't think I have much more sports to talk about, Dwight. This has been...
meh.
The Houston Astros are the best team in baseball.
We out here. Dry out here in these sports streets.
Remember
it's that time of year, folks.
Not before this baseball season. Remember before last year's baseball season, I said the Cubs and the Astros, and you were laughing about the Cubs thing, right? And I was way off on the Astros. The Astros didn't even make the playoffs, but the Cubs did. Well, now this year, I picked the Cubs, but I didn't pick the Astros to make it. And the Cubs don't look like they're going to make the playoffs, but the Astros look like they're going to go to the World Series. It's going to be the Astros and Yankees in the AL playoffs, that's going to be a fun matchup. And the Yankees, Red Sox, and Astros are going to be all fun. And Cleveland. Those three teams are going to be really fun to watch in the AL. I mean, the NL, I guess, is going to be fun, but I'm a Phillies fan, so that it sucks for me to even care about those things. Plus, the AL is legitimately more fun. That's not just me hating and making fun of them.
Just dry out here in East Sports Streets.
Well, I mean, at least next week, DeWayne, we can talk about your favorite college prospect maybe going to your Lakers, Ball, and...
Doesn't even deserve a response.
The MLB All-Star Game's coming up.
It's dry out here in East Sports Streets.
Talk about Aaron Judge being in the home run derby, hopefully.
Talk about more OTAs.
OTAs?
Mayweather.
I heard maybe between this recording and next, Odell Beckham Jr. might show up to the Giants OTAs. I heard he might not as well, though.
I heard it was June, and it doesn't even matter.
Andrew Luck might not be ready for training camp from that surgery.
Is he going to be ready September, whatever, 8th?
Sounds like probably. Cam will be ready by training camp, though.
He's the 44th best player in the league. He's irrelevant.
He is the 44th best player in the league.
He's irrelevant. Garbage.
I'm surprised he's as high as 44th, honestly.
Yeah, probably about 67 personally.
Yeah,
67.
easily.
67.
I'm glad you agree.
Because Colin's 48. We already established that last week. Colin's 48, Cam's 67.
Austin Davis is like 4th, right? 4th, 5th?
He's number 4.
Okay.
It goes like Brady, Rogers, Austin Davis.
I do find the Cam thing funny that you don't dislike Cam as much as you dislike all of my other favorite athletes.
So?
I know, I love
He's
it.
still kind of overrated.
I know, but I'm glad that have...
No, he's overrated. Let me clarify. You overrate him, yes.
But I'm glad we can find common ground, because like you dislike all my other favorite athletes. You don't dislike Iverson. You might dislike Iverson, but you don't show me that you dislike Iverson. But all my other favorite athletes...
irrelevant.
Right. Obviously. I agree.
Beat me in 2002, 2003.
No. I just meant in general.
Oh, I hated him. You think I hated him?
No. I obviously you hated him. Obviously.
He's irrelevant to me.
It would have been funny.
He don't mean nothing to me at this point.
I wish that the 12-year-old me and 13-year-old you would have been able to do like a podcast during those 0-1 finals. That would have been. We would have just been bickering about the dumbest things ever.
That would not have been okay.
Iverson's so good.
No, he sucks. I'll let you know he sucks.
We'd have had so much fun. I'm glad we're more mature now.
I hate him. No, we're not. I'm just saying it's funny.
Thank you for watching JD Sports. I'm Jared Hood. That's Dwight.